Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, throwing it back over here to my good colleague, buddy, pal, Mr. Brian E. Roach. Brian, on this Victory Monday, how you doing?
I'm just going to smack the bobblehead around because he was wrong.
You show him who's boss, man. You tell him. Right. You go in there. It's that meme where the guy's pointing at the mirror at himself. You go in there and you let him know who's boss. That's a great segue, by the way. Yeah. Pittsburgh Steelers showing the Cleveland Browns who was boss. Big game, big win for the Steelers, 23-9. First win at Acrisure Stadium for the Steelers this year. The Browns in the regular season, at least. I do not count that playoff game with no fans with COVID years ago with Baker Mayfield. Other than that one, regular season-wise, Browns is still winless since 2003. 20, however many, I don't know. The math isn't working. My brain and the coffee is not flowing. Don't require me to do math on the day after a game like this where I was screaming, yelling. I'm still dealing with the sinuses. I will try power through this as best I can, but I'm very pleased with what I saw. A nice carryover after a bye week, a very strong all three phases of football approach in victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Brian.
I agree. I was pleasantly surprised with what was put on display. Clearly they were prepared. They looked really good coming out of the bye. It obviously helps getting guys back. So I was pleasantly surprised.
Getting guys back. And what about we went from doing a show Thursday, early Friday. It was before it was Friday before the injury report. And we thought for sure, almost
Jalen Ramsey was going to not play. Yeah, for sure.
And Jerry Dulac, who he's been wrong more often recently than right, unfortunately for Jerry, saying that Jalen was going to be out multiple weeks. I don't know. Maybe he's getting some marching orders from the Steelers front office and they're putting a line of bullshit out there that throw the Browns off. You never know. But it sure was nice to see the full complement of the Steelers defense out there. We'll talk about that a little bit in a moment, but also setting the tone. Just the Steelers being able to run the football. We had kind of surmised, maybe just looking at the way the Minnesota Vikings kind of wore them down, kind of wore the Browns defense down. We said, can the Steelers do the same thing and just keep punching? And between a complement of 4 tight ends, 3 different running backs, and then an additional offensive lineman in Spencer Anderson, it's like, hey, the offensive line's looking great. Well, they've got 6 or 7 of them out there if you count Darnell Washington, which, that was it was kind of nice to see them kind of just ground and pound a little bit. They did not get a 100-yard rusher. They did not get they got exactly on the nose 100 yards in the game. And Max Starks post game with Rob King doing the call on the radio call, which I was also listening to at the game. Max was talking about how Mason kind of moved a little forward, made sure they didn't lose any yards statistically with the victory formation.
I saw that, yeah. I actually saw that, yeah.
That's pretty cool. But it's nice to see him getting back to a little bit of Steelers football because Aaron Rodgers, 30 pass attempts, 28 rushing attempts overall with the team, including, the Mason Rudolph kneel downs, of course, and one Rodgers little scamper that wasn't like a sack or anything for just a 1 yard run, versus Dillon Gabriel, the rookie out of Oregon, attempting 52 passes. The Browns only ran the ball 17 times, and for a large portion of this game, I don't know if I texted you this or not, and I was asking because there's certainly things we don't see in stadium or vice versa, right? Where you're at home. I said, did Quinshon Judkins get hurt? Like, it just seemed like there was no game plan to use.
Wasn't effective. That's all.
Oh, they held him to 3 yards per carry, a 6-yard long. Jerome Ford had the longest scamper of the Browns running backs with 12. And just playing kind of like a shell defense with two safeties at sometimes, particularly at the end, we started seeing some backups come in, is where Harold Fannin, the rookie tight end, really started to do some of his damage in the middle of the field. He had a few catches earlier on in the game. And then, just, I guess, thank you to Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy targeted 13 times, only caught 5 of those.
Yeah, and dropsies seem to be an issue across anytime Dillon Gabriel is throwing the ball, because by my count, I think the Steelers dropped 4 interceptions, and it could have maybe been more. I don't know. But yeah, the Cleveland receivers had the dropsies too, which I'll take. I guess if none of us are going to catch him, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. I had a really good post somewhere that I snapped, and I'm not gonna be able to find. Oh, here it is now. It was from the Cleveland. Oh, I wish I had this. This is on my phone. It's not. I don't have it like a pop up on the screen, but it was a social media post from the Cleveland Browns. Right, you can kind of see it on the screen here, and this was like the day of this was yesterday before the game. It says the picture. Somebody commented and said the picture is clearly AI because it shows Jeudy holding on to the ball. And that was before the game. Oh my goodness. My good friend Eric, who's a huge, he's a huge Ohio State, Cleveland Browns, you name it. He's really big into, all the Cleveland sports, and he was just very frustrated by Jerry Jeudy. So, but for me, I'm like, Jerry Jeudy, that's a Steelers best friend right here. So I was pleased with that. Aaron Rodgers very efficient in this game. Again, I'll mention 70% completion percentage, 21 of 30, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns. Second time this year he was not sacked. No turnovers by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Of course, the Steelers could have generated many, like guys like Juan Thornhill or even Patrick Queen, who ran after a Nick Herbig ball and tried to catch it like he was like a center fielder or something, trying to make a play. That was fantastic, man. And just a very, it just shows, I think if you had to put one word on this, and I heard this not only, I think Mike Pursuta also said this, these guys are having fun out there. It looks like they're actually having fun, and that helps. Yep. That helps that you don't have frustration boil over. And even Joey Porter Jr. keeping his cool for the most part when Jeudy threw the punch at him. Nothing retaliatory. I got to give my hats off to those guys. That was one hell of a game.
I agree. I mean, offensive line played, I thought, better than they have all year. Broderick Jones, which I'm sure we'll talk about, had a great game. Yes, both tackles got help throughout the game at various times, but Myles Garrett was a non-entity in this game. Basically did nothing, and the fact that we gave up 0 sacks and got 6, that's a pretty good showing by the offensive line. I'm very pleased, and clearly 6 sacks on our side. Gabriel was under pressure a lot. It just was, it worked the way you wanted it to work. And it's the first, I get it. It's Cleveland. The offense is stinky, but the defense is a solid and good unit. They
overall
were leading the league in rushing defense. It's a good defense. So the fact that we played complimentary ball, the fact that we had a complete game, we didn't let them get back into it, and there were points in times where we thought, okay, here we go. We're gonna let them drive down the field, and all of a sudden it's gonna be a 1-score game, and then we're gonna have to deal with that. But we didn't work that way. I'm very pleased by the game.
I'm very pleased too. 16, if my math is correct here, quarterback hits by the Steelers defense. Come back around to that. Well, you know what? We could do the defense first. Let's talk about them since we have it. I was going to say the key moments and getting the defense. Definitely. Jalen Ramsey. Again, let's come back to Jalen Ramsey. Holy smokes. I'm skeptical. Sometimes I'm not skeptical. Sometimes I get the bias bug or whatever, Brian. But I think when the trade was made for Minkah Fitzpatrick, I definitely had skepticism as to, can Ramsey be at least as good as Fitzpatrick had been? Can he make these splash plays? Why does he bounce around from team to team? Holy smokes, is he a fit for this team? He is an X factor where didn't he line up yesterday. He was everywhere. And then he had 2 sacks. When is the last time you heard of a safety or a corner having a sack with the Steelers defense, let alone 2? And I believe the number that I heard was 17 sacks overall over the last 3 games. The Steelers are finally back on pace, making splash plays. It helps to have everybody healthy and everybody back. You had Joey Porter Jr. come back. Now have Deshaun Elliott back for 2 games. Ramsey wasn't out. Derek Harmon, 2 games now, 3 games. He didn't start the season either. Cole Holcomb, who had a healthy mix in with the inside linebackers. Alex Highsmith was back, actually outsnapped by Nick Herbig, who also deserves a major hats off, kudos, whatever. I mean, he was...
How cool is it that they introduced him as a 12th man on the defense? That's just awesome. And I guess it shows what they think of him. So what a game. He had a great game. And I don't want to belittle Alex. Alex played well too. Mm-hmm. He made some nice stops on the run game. I'm excited to see the continuing evolution and maturity of this defense as they start to gel even more.
Yeah, and you had TJ, he started to sit a little bit. I know you were worried about a leg thing, but I think at the end, Tomlin was starting to think ahead. As much as he says he doesn't do this, he was thinking ahead to Thursday Night Football. I mean, Slay didn't go back out there, but in the post game, the only major injury news, of course, Miles Killebrew, who people weren't happy about the turf, right? The
turf was horrible looking.
The playing surface. You had Chris Boswell trip and fall on a attempted kick near the end. Would have helped my fantasy a little bit more, fantasy team. But Killebrew more than likely sounds like he'll be out for the season. That is the special teams captain. That's a pretty major blow for that unit. They're going to have to find some more hats to help around with that particular area. But just flipping back to the defense, Slay came out. He didn't bother trying to put Slay back out there. Now Eccles did come back out. He left for like a play. Seemed like he got banged up. He kind of fell over himself on the one tackle. Ramsey with 2 sacks. TJ had a half sack. Alex had a half sack. Derek Harmon with the sack, with pretty much all him. He just washed his guy. And then Herbig with the 2 sacks. Herbig with 4 quarterback hits. TJ Watt with 2 as well. Ramsey with the 2. 3, I said 3 by Watt, right? 2 by Derek Harmon. Do we have some tackles for loss? Also, of course, Ramsey and Herbig and the sacks counting there, but also James Pierre. Peyton Wilson. I mean, everyone's got their hands in the pile. Jack Sawyer gets to Dillon Gabriel twice with some pressure also. They're coming from all directions. They're trying to find, like you said, how cool is it that he was the 12th guy that was announced? And I'm not sure if anyone noticed that, but as soon as it happened, I was like, oh man, that was really cool. Something that was a little out of place. Something else to kind of throw in here with defense and not run of the mill. Renegade. And I don't believe it was like this in the first game against Seattle. Renegade was showing like Jack Ham, James Harrison, I believe Porter Sr. was in there, Troy Polamalu was in there, Kevin Green, Greg Lloyd. They were showing highlights from, classic Steelers, like almost like throwback films, NFL films kind of stuff. So that was pretty neat to see also, that you probably wouldn't hear from otherwise. I wish I would have captured a little bit of it on video, but overall, having everybody back on defense, you're going to put everybody on notice now. But the Browns weren't able to run the ball. We're going to get into a little bit of a Bengals preview here at the end, but a Bengals team that's really been struggling to run the football. I'd be amazed that they were able to chip away at all if the Steelers play a similar game plan as they did. And just getting into... Speaking of Cincinnati, I had the wrong snap counts up. I'm like, Dax Hill doesn't play for the Steelers. Let me see here. We had Patrick Queen played all 82 snaps. He never came off the field.
That's the second game in a row.
He's the only one who didn't. Usually guys in the secondary, Ramsey, and even Ramsey came off. Ramsey got some offensive snaps as well in the victory formation, the old Troy Polamalu spot behind the quarterback. Porter Jr. played the second most amount of snaps. He only sat for 3. And then Elliott Thornhill played 71 or 87%. Peyton Wilson, Darius Slay still played a healthy amount, 51 snaps. Then you have Nick Herbig edging out TJ Watt by 1 play. Keanu Benton was out there 60% of the time. Derek Harmon 59%. And then Alex Highsmith, Cam Heyward, Brandon Eccles, Cole Holcomb 34%. Jack Sawyer 29%. That's actually more than I thought. Wyatt Black 20% of the game. James Pierre, of course, came in when Slay was pulled. He played 17% of the game. Daniel Aquale, Julius Peppers was out there for 10 snaps, as was I can't pronounce his name, Otameo. I had to actually look up his number because I was like, who is that? I mean, they literally had everyone out there on defense. They played complimentary football, so I don't think they got really gashed, beat up. They should be as good as they can be for this Thursday night game against the Bengals. Key moments, Brian. What do we got in this game? Because in here, I think we need to talk about officiating. Because I mentioned Julius Pepper's name, and it's the first thing that comes to mind was the block in the back. And I know you get some of the TV view and stuff like that. There was it was acknowledged. Tomlin acknowledged it in both his post-game press conference and this Monday press conference that he just held. Pretty bad when you know ahead of time. He says, we scout the officials like we do the teams. We brought in referees during practice to be used to this. It felt for a little bit like you were playing the Kansas City Chiefs and just everything was a little one-sided there.
I got extremely frustrated with the encroachment, lining up in the neutral zone multiple times because, as we talked when we were texting, TJ has to check with the ref to make sure he's in an okay position. And if the ref gives him a thumbs up, he knows he's good. And then they call the penalty. What are they saying? He leaned his head a little bit? I mean, give me a break. That's the most ridiculous nonsense I've ever heard. And they were frustrated. I mean, TJ was frustrated with that. Tomlin was frustrated with those penalties.
Oh, yeah, very visible.
And it seemed to happen anytime TJ got going on something. TJ makes a play. Oh no, I'm sorry, you were a little offsides. It was brutal. I didn't think, the Julius, whatever that block in the back one was, it was weak, no question about it. Technically, I guess, but it was so touchy. Like I think Gene Steratore, whoever the guy is that they have on, ex stinky ref, basically said, "I'm sorry, the refs stink." That was one that should not have been called.
There's a few of them. There's ones I would maybe take back. Just plays in general. I thought that the very first play where you just thought they were going to run the football was when they find Darnell Washington was a pretty big play. Rodgers overthrows him at one point, which I felt
Darnell needs to hold on to the ball a little better, though. I mean, he was carrying it like a little loosey-goosey.
He's used to crushing small children. We talked before about the kaiju thing in Godzilla.
Crushing small children? Why would he crush small children?
You gotta hold it real gentle.
Cool.
Real gentle. Like, don't smash the bread. It's an inside joke I have with my daughter, but my grandmother, God bless her, rest in peace, but that woman with grocery bags and smashing loaves of bread, buns, anything that was a bread product, it wasn't making it home safe. It was, what's that? No, it's she'd throw a paint can on it if she could have. I don't think she cared.
You got to put it underneath the cans. Put the bread on the bottom, then put the cans of vegetables on top of it. That's the way it works. They need that padding.
Oh my goodness! You get a piece. I know I'm the host who likes toast. We haven't said that in a very long time, and
I hate that crap.
Yeah, and you get a piece of bread that's like folded like origami. But anyways, Brian's going to fish out another one of his sparkling waters. I know he is. Brian, I silenced you, my friend. We did not get the ice on that one.
Bummer.
Yeah.
People think I'm drinking a cold one, and I am. It's a cold water.
It's just the cold water. I don't know. We had a can like that, very similar. I was on a different call with one of my work professionals, and it was just like, hey, what do you got there? It looks like a Keystone Light or something. It's like, who would drink that in the day drinking anyways? But I will say this. At least the Steelers got a little bit of comeuppance, a little bit of payback, if you will, on the penalty with Corliss Waitman getting run into. And everybody and their brothers just looking at this like, you have thrown flags for guys sneezing today. There's some that felt like they could have gone either way. Particularly, was it Judy that like threw someone down practically in the end zone? Was it Judy and Joey, or Judy and Eccles, or somebody that was it was toward the end? Like, and it was just like, are you kidding me, man? Like, that could go, like, you have so many these dumb offsetting penalties because you don't have the cojones to just go one way or the other with some of the calls, is the way that I felt. But the officiating certainly had to be brought up. The field surface had to be brought up. Both were brought up by Tomlin. If you didn't catch Coach Tomlin's presser, please go back. It's pretty informative. It was actually a lengthy one. He must have fielded like 40 questions. I didn't hear what he said under his breath as he walked off the field, or walked off the podium, but he definitely said something and there was a little chuckle. But we were talking game balls, and I think we should give a few of these out for individual performances, including one. Darnell Washington is definitely high on my list for the game balls in this one. What was his final tally? 3 passes for 62 yards, but he was definitely a force. It was a force to be reckoned with. You talked about Broderick Jones as well. And I said, yes, at the beginning of the game, they were definitely helping Broderick Jones. They were bringing Jalen Warren or Kenneth Gainwell over. Washington was on that side. But as the game went by, they left Jones on an island a couple of times. And there was a play. There was actually a running play. I forget who got the ball. It might have been Caleb Johnson. And he comes out over the right side. And Darnell Washington just threw someone like he was putting them 6 feet under. Like, it was just like, get down there. And it was like with force. I'm just like, that guy, we need something bigger than a grown-ass man. We used to say grown-ass man. This guy is just, he's a monster among men out there. So Washington for sure. I'm going to say Broderick Jones, because a lot of people, they stick to that early season narrative. They, what they remember. And if he has a bad game, then everybody's like, oh, get rid of him, cut him. This offensive line is coming around. And again, what have you seen some of these offensive linemen celebrating as they're leaving the field? You got Mason McCormick laying on the ground, like pointing that it's a first, looking over at the pylon or the sticks that it's a first down. They were having fun and doing what they were doing. And definitely, I'll give those game balls there. I know we said Ramsey earlier. I think you may have one or two others than what I have.
Well, I'm going to give one to Nick for sure.
Yeah.
2 sacks gets you a game ball. I would have picked Broderick as well, and Jalen. I would have probably picked Darnell Washington as well too. I would just like to give one to the offensive line as a group, because I just felt they did a great job. I thought DK, the catch, that early catch, that was some legendary type stuff. That the throw was perfect from Rodgers. That catch was incredible. He had a solid game. I don't know.
What about another catch? What about another great catch? Connor Heyward.
Oh, Connor Heyward's catch. That was nice.
What a ball too. And some people are speculating about Freiermuth. His usage was, I didn't get into those numbers. 36% of the game. I mean, they played. Connor Heyward was 10%. You had a smattering of so many different players that were out there, because Scotty Miller got time. He played 44% of the game. Skoranek, 17%. That was 10 reps total. Freiermuth only at 21. I mean, you had Jonnu Smith at 41. Darnell Washington leading the charge with 47. The only players who played more than that, obviously, Aaron Rodgers, the offensive line, and DK Metcalf. Or DeKalen, as Misty Matthews had in the post game, and we're using your government name. He played 49 plays, 83% of the game for DK Metcalf. Freiermuth looked a little absent, but the reason I bring him up in the same breath as Connor Heyward, you see how Rodgers was able to freelance. This is what he's expecting from Freiermuth, and Freiermuth has to learn and grow from this. And just work a little more on his routes and breaking off and getting a little open when there might be some freelancing, because Rodgers didn't always have time, but he had time and he got rid of the ball as necessary. I mean, the Steelers really took care of the football. I don't think there were major scares in this game. I know you were talking a little loose with Darnell Washington. I had that same worry sometimes.
That was the only one.
Jalen Warren a little bit too. I look at him, and another hats off to punt and kick return duties by Keyshawn Williams, who was here preseason training camp and gets brought up to the roster to play on this game and take over the duties for Calvin Austin, and nearly broke like a big play if it wasn't for the ticky-tack call on Pepper. And Peppers was, not happy. Peppers probably could have had a fumble recovery, we thought, too. There was a few ducks that were floating around in this game. The defense was very opportunistic. The splash plays were practically there. So we now have to turn our attention over to the Bengals. I'm going to mention injuries real quick because, the big one is the only one to really mention on the Steelers end, Miles Killebrew. Now, the attention turns toward the Bengals in their health because Shamar Stewart did not play. He's been dealing with an ankle, and he did not play. Let's see. That's about the biggest one on the Bengals.
Well, Hendrickson went out in that game.
Hendrickson went out with a back, did not return. And that's a pretty big one as well when you're talking about edge rushers in the way that the Steelers, even with an extra offensive lineman like Spencer Anderson playing, they go big again. They're going to be able to impose their will on the Bengals. Defense has been doing better with I forgot the defensive coordinator's name already. Al Golden versus Lou Anarumo was last year. Elmo. No, that would be funny though. You hear him call, please. I can't even do it because my throat's still jacked up.
Don't be mean. Don't hit that man. Oh.
But I need to pull up the quote from Tomlin because it sums up about the way I think we were all kind of thinking out there. He said the quiet part out loud, right? And it was, and I quote, Andrew Berry must be a lot smarter than me or us because it doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback you think enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. But that's just my personal feelings. And that's my personal feeling as well. Tomlin has a lot of respect for Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco has actual legitimate people to throw the football to. I think Mike Gesicki leaves this game too and maybe doesn't come back, one of the tight ends. He ends up checking down a lot to Noah Fant. He was still able to deliver the ball on schedule sometimes. The couple of those throws to Jamar Chase were pretty sick in this game. He finds T. Higgins a little bit. Overall, Flacco threw 45 passes in this one, and that's because they trailed most of the game. He only took one sack. He threw 2 touchdowns, 219 yards. So even though he completed 29 of 45, ball not really getting around. And he's not throwing a lot of deep passes. It's a lot of shorter work, but they're moving the sticks a little bit. Chase had 10 catches for 94 yards and a touchdown. And then one of the other reserve tight ends, Hudson, I don't even know his first name. He caught 4 for 10, but he also had a touchdown in this one. Bengals not really able to run the football, but they did a little bit better against the Packers, depending on who was in there. Chase Brown had 9 carries, 42 yards, 4.7 on average, but Samjay Perine only 6 carries for 16 yards, 2.7 average. The Steelers bottle this up and make them really one-dimensional. I think it's going to be difficult for Joe Flacco to find anybody, and if they don't have Trey Hendrickson or Shamar Stewart on that Bengals defense, this one tilts a lot more maybe in favor of the Steelers, even though they're going on the road to a division opponent.
The fact that they have Joe Flacco now annoys me because as you said, he's got legitimate credentials, right? And he's got weapons to throw to. And he's not going to Jake Browning it. Can he be rattled? Sure. Is he mobile? No. Should he be a statue back there that we should be able to tee off on? Yes. But he is still a legitimate quarterback. And with the weapons that the Bengals have, that is a little more concerning. The game, I agree, the game tilts towards the Steelers for sure, especially if those injuries, extend so that guys like Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart don't play. But look, the Browns offensive line was a little beat up, right? They kept talking about how This is like the 12th iteration of the offensive line to play in only 5 or 6 games.
Yeah.
But is the Bengals offensive line better than the Browns offensive line?
I don't have a very good answer for that. I mean, Orlando Brown to me has never really panned out for them. Ted Karras has played a lot at center. I think he's got like a consecutive game streak of like 65 games or something like that. They do have a rookie, Jalen Rivers, as one of their guards. Amarius Mims, a first rounder. We remember, a very large man from last year. Yeah. I think Mims actually left that game too and was replaced by Cody Ford due to injury. Cody Ford, veteran who's been all over the league. I best remember him. I think I actually picked him up from Buffalo, maybe even in a trade or off waivers, something of that nature. But he's stuck around there. Dalton Reisner gets in a mix somewhere in the interior. They've got like a bunch of kind of journeymen for the most part, outside of Brown, who was thought to be the missing piece for their Super Bowl picture a few years ago when they made that signing. So it's funny. I was looking up the depth chart on CincinnatiBengals.com. And I think I'm going to actually pull this up just for the sake of while it's here, and then somebody says, "Oh, well, no, you're kind of lying to us," And let me find depth chart. Here we go. You'll laugh and giggle at this one too. So as I'm showing the wrong screen. Give me a second. There we go. Now I got it. Advertising their white out. They're going to be wearing all these all white jerseys or whatever. But do we notice a name missing from the quarterback slide? They didn't even have a chance to update the website with Joe Flacco's name as a quarterback on the depth chart, which I thought was just hilarious. But just overall, even looking at their defense, BJ Hill's still a very solid player. Logan Wilson's been there for more than a minute. Dax Hill converted over he was kind of a utility player when he was at that university up north. And so they have him playing as a nickel corner. DJ Turner, we're familiar with him too with Big Ten football. Geno Stone's been there for a minute. Jordan Battle's found his kind of role in this defense. But aside from Geno Stone's been playing pretty well. But none of these guys have been playing like over the line, I feel. And when you don't have a Bengals offense, they have to play some complementary football. And I think if you make them real one-dimensional, which they've been, it's going to put a lot of pressure on Flacco. I don't think you want Flacco throwing another 50 passes, even if it's at home.
Well, you don't. You absolutely don't.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I took away from watching the Green Bay Bengals game was that I'm not as scared of Green Bay as I thought I should be.
No, dude, that's the same thought I had. Did I text you that, or did I might have texted that to my cousin Brad? I was like, I'm watching this game and I'm like, is it just me, or is everyone kind of I don't want to call them overrated. They are who they are, and I think they only have the one loss to the Browns, but they were struggling at home. And that's their only home game in 51 days, by the way. They have a bye built in and then a bunch of road games and everything, including coming to Pittsburgh here soon near the end of the month. That's going to be an interesting matchup based on what ends up happening Thursday. But yeah, they were struggling. They even with the guys that they had, I think Van Ness got a sack on Flacco, if I'm not mistaken. And then I'm actually looking at this. Hold on, because I thought I said if Flacco he just took the one. Micah Parsons didn't really get home a whole lot. The one corner was getting pretty abused, but then again, it is Jamar Chase, T. Higgins as a combo. So those are some guys. But not to get into a huge Green Bay Packers preview, but since they just played 19 of 26 for 259 yards and a touchdown, just took one sack, had one really bad pick, Jordan Love, which it seems like he's good for one of those every game. But he only had to throw the ball 26 times. They ran it 33 times. Josh Jacobs with a 5.2 average, 18 carries, 93 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think that's going to be if the Steelers. We saw 4 tight ends catch a ball. We saw 3 running backs run the ball in this game. I don't know that we're worried about a wide receiver too. This could be a very similar kind of game plan, and I do think that you talk about putting that Tyson Campbell who just came over from Jacksonville in that Cleveland game, and you put him on Metcalf, and he was lost in the stars. And in fact, Rodgers missed one that they probably should have had also.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the same factor here in Cincinnati. I think that DK is going to squeak free on a couple of these, make some grown-ass man plays. I continue feeding Metcalf in this game, and I pound the football with this group, this platoon that they have, whether it's they just put 7 guys up there. Mike Tomlin's been using the term weight class. We talked about this in the off-season training camp previews and whatnot, Brian. This is a matchup problem for all of these teams. I even look around the AFC and start to think, unless you've got and the Browns have a very good defensive line. The Bengals are not as good on the defensive line. Patriots had a good defensive line. Patriots could end up in the lead in their division. We're looking at that, and they're like, they won in New England. They won. Now the Jets, whole other story. The Jets were still in it with the Broncos, but all right.
Man,
here
bad.
We go. One guy in particular was really bad. He was sacked 9 times, which is the same number of passes he completed, and that was Justin Fields. 9 completions for minus 10 yards.
10 yards passing.
First time in 25, 30 years that somebody had that kind of statistic as a quarterback. It was just really bad. He just stood there like a statue and was getting just mauled. There was no other way of saying it. And then there was a safety, and the Jets end up ahead, and this was played in London. They end up 11-9. And my buddy's a big Broncos fan. He was like, what is going on here? This is like, it was just keeping them in the game. And I felt this way a little bit with the Steelers and with Boswell and kicking a lot of field goals at the very beginning. But they were able to grind and just keep grinding, and they tired out that Cleveland defense. This might be the first time this year that the Steelers have actually led in time of possession, and it wasn't a big disparity, but it was 31-52 to 28-08. They ran the Browns ran 75 plays to the Steelers 58. So the Steelers should be pretty fresh offensively. I still think that the Steelers defense will be, because they put a bunch of backups in toward the end, and that's where a lot of those plays and drives came from. There was the one really nice possession that the Browns had. They had an 16 play, 72 yards with a field goal to end the half, and then to begin the fourth quarter, 18 plays, 49 yards. So they were able to maintain possession. Some of it aided, once again, flags. Cam Heyward, hands to the face. Penalties. Yeah, just there was some stuff there. So the story of that is, once again, Jerry Jeudy trying to get in Porter's head. We saw this with Chase. We saw this with T. Higgins. If there's any guys that are going to talk more trash than those two, just kind of keep a lid on it, guys, because Jalen Ramsey will definitely square up as well when it comes to the trash talk. We've seen that in the past. So that's pretty much, the Steelers had 3 drives with 10 or more plays. That was very nice. They had some really nice possessions here. Most of them weren't any quick 3 and outs. For the most part, until you got to the very, very, very end of the game, where you would have liked to see them kind of close it out. And they had one with a nice possession on turnover on downs, and that's where Boswell fell. But Boswell in the past has been a Bengals killer, and you put him in those stadiums. These coaches around the league are not afraid. They're throwing guys out there now. We saw McPherson in the Bengals Packers. What was that, a 67-yarder he was attempting or something like that? And it was well short. It barely made the goal line. But they're fearless. They got the new rules with the ball that they could bring there. And Mike Tomlin's going to do the same thing. You got a turf field. We'll see what the weather's like. I'm excited for this one. Thursday, primetime football. No maps. No maps with Brian. No math. Amazon Prime. Local
Everybody
channels.
gets it on the same channel. Yeah,
local channels. If you happen to get whatever's local, it's probably, I think it's maybe on, it's either on ABC or NBC. It's not gonna be CBS or Fox. I forget which one in the local markets. I'd have to double check, but just keep that in mind. And any closing thoughts there, Brian? Because I'm about spent. My voice is about gone.
No, is this the Ravens bye week?
I'm sorry.
Coming up, is this the Ravens bye?
I believe so. Let me click on the clicker. Ravens and Bills are going to be idle this upcoming week. So then Baltimore is going to come back. Bad. I know Baltimore is going to come back out of it. Maybe they get Lamar back, but they still got a lot of other problems going forward. And we were talking about that schedule too. They're going to get the Bears at home again. They had 3 in a row at home with a bye in the middle, so 4 weeks at home. The exact opposite of what the Packers are basically doing. Steelers are going to get a lot of home games coming up too, because they were on the road, even though the one home game, that 9th home game, was played in Dublin, Ireland. Then you got to go on the road 3 games. It's interesting because we don't expect a Thursday night game, but Thursday in Miami after playing the Bears. That Bears defense is pretty physical. I could definitely see that being one that they might be licking their wounds, depending on who's healthy coming out of the game, out of the bye week after the Bears game. They get the Dolphins, and then you get it's very similar to the Steelers schedule. Bye week, home game, then Thursday night on the road, mini bye, and then the Ravens go on the road again for Minnesota and Cleveland. So it's going to be some interesting stuff there. Then they get like the Jets, the Bengals, and the Steelers all at home. They get another 3 in a row at home. One of those a Thursday night game against the Bengals. So again, schedule makers. They get on my nerves a little bit, but again, you will not get any sympathy from us. Not only because of that Christmas stretch last year, but I thought about this the other day, and it's like the Steelers with Thursday night games. When Tomlin was asked about this, and he's lost however many, 4 of the last 6, 5 of the last 6, and he's always got to go to like on the road. He's got to go for a divisional game, got to play in Cleveland. It's crap weather. It was snowing last year. After you play like the Ravens, your first divisional game of the entire season last year was like week 11. And so the schedule makers, they're just trying to put that into Hard Knocks or whatever. You know, they could kiss it as far as I'm concerned. They're right there with the officials. They're in that. Some of the officials I don't dislike as strongly as you, Brian, but I think they may have gotten some of the worst ones out of the way. I did not see an announcement yet for who's on for Thursday night, so I'm going to bite my tongue until we hear that announcement, because it could be Hockley's boy for all we know, and then the apple doesn't fall far from the tree there with Sean Hockley.
Absolutely.
Oh man, but overall we're going to take this victory, and hopefully the Steelers can build some momentum, and then they get a little bit of a mini bye before they end up having the Packers come along. Steelers now, I was premature in saying this the last time, but they are now 4-1, and you know, they could be among depending on what shakes out here with the Buffalo Bills and the Atlanta Falcons. I don't anticipate Buffalo struggling. But the Steelers, and then you got the Colts at 5-1 atop the AFC, and Kansas City's clawing back. They're 3-3, but they're behind both the Chargers and the Broncos. That's an interesting time to be alive. There's still a lot of football left to be played, but trust me, seeing Baltimore and Cleveland both at 1-5, that makes me happy. That makes me feel a little more confident. I know some of the schedule is going to get a little tougher for the Steelers, a little easier for the other teams. But you got to play what's in front of you, and so far, I'm pleased with the way this season has panned out.
Yeah, so far so good.
So far so good. Well, folks, that'll do it for us today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm ready to start massaging my throat. I'm starting to lose the voice. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a rating and review wherever you're at. Share the show. We appreciate all of you that support us, watching or listening wherever you may be. Till next time, my name is Joe Kuzma. His name is Brian E. Roach. We will catch you next time on the post game, and stay tuned. Middle of the week, Terry Fletcher with her WTF What the Football podcast will also be up at some point as Terry comes back from Hawaii. Jealous about that. Yeah, I'm not sure if she caught the game.
What the hell?
What's that?
I said she didn't take us. What the hell?
I tell her that every year. It's like she goes there like every year. I've never been, not yet. But one of these days. So I'm trying to fill out the little America like thing, and every state that I've been to like 38 states, so there's not a whole lot left. I need the corners up in Maine,
Hawaii and Alaska, and I
think
Hawaii and Alaska, and I think Maine. That might be it
for you.
North Dakota, I don't think I've hit yet.
I haven't hit I had an opportunity to go to North Dakota and did not, because I didn't feel like being in a car for 5 hours one way from South Dakota, another very exciting place to be. But
yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, so
Badlands National Park is very cool though.
Oh, that's neat. No, I don't really have a bad thing to say about South Dakota. I enjoyed my time there, believe it or not. Even Iowa, which is very flat, in the home of our editor Tina Rivers, she probably would not agree.
Much better than Kansas.
Doesn't look like we're in Kansas anymore, Toto.
Yeah, please. That's a good thing, because Kansas is about the most boring place in the world.
You could say the same thing about Ohio. So it may be even Western Pennsylvania.
Ohio's got hills. Ohio has character. There are things in Ohio. Kansas, you just look and go, it's all wheat. What the hell? This is the most lame state ever.
Well, Iowa's very flat as well, so you don't get all of the sprawling hills and plains and mountains, and when you get into Appalachia, into Pennsylvania and West Virginia, country roads take me home, and that's where we're gonna go. We're taking it home, Brian. My name's Joe. His name's Brian. Till next time, we encourage all of you fine folks out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.